Department of Justice designates New York City as an anarchist jurisdiction. Not just New York City either, but Portland and Seattle as well. And apparently I heard they were gonna do this with DC as well. But the mayor of DC called Trump and pretty much begged him not to. So hopefully one day that call's gonna come out. But this by the way, this whole anarchist jurisdiction, what this does, this is the first step to the federal government, cutting funding to these cities. So all of these cities that think they can flip the birds to the federal government, the feds are like, according to the Constitution, you're technically allowed to do that. But at the same time, we have no obligation to keep financially supporting you if you do that. So we're just going to cut off all federal aid. Have fun. The designation comes after a memo for President Trump earlier this month threatening to cut off federal funds for cities. Yep, this is the first step. And New York City has become one of 3 places that have permitted violence and destruction of property to persist. They have. And have also refused to undertake reasonable measures to counteract criminal activities, leading to its designation as an anarchist jurisdiction, the Justice Department said on Monday. Rather than idle words, the designation has potential financial consequences. Now, this is how you know it's serious, because most of the time when the government does something, they just have some show vote. Like, hey, guys, let's just vote to condemn this guy. And they just sternly wag their finger at someone with a vote. Like, yeah, let's vote to condemn Israel. And sternly wag their finger at Israel. And Israel's just like, whatever. Who cares? No one takes these people seriously. But this is more than that. President Trump issued a memo earlier this month directing the Department of Justice to identify jurisdictions that, in its view, were not enforcing the law appropriately. Designated cities could lose their federal funding. Once again, these cities do actually have a constitutional right to not follow the federal government. The whole point of the Constitution was to give as much power to the individuals and the cities and the counties and the states as possible over the federal government. So they are allowed to ignore the federal government. But if they do that, the federal government isn't obligated to keep financially supporting them. So this is effectively like if a kid rebelled against their parents while still living in their basement. Oops. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo minced no words in responding to the assessment. Yeah, no one cares what that bitch says, though. I understand the politics, but when you try to manipulate and distort government agencies to play politics, which is what the Trump administration has done from day one, this is more of the same, Cuomo said on a conference call with alleged reporters. The president can't supersede the law, and I say I'm going to make those funds basically discretionary funds, which is what he would have to do. Well, we'll see, dude. We'll see how much shit you're talking, because honestly, I agree with Trump on this one. When it's federal funding, that's all the rest of us paying for this shit. If state and city funds have to pay for something, that's only the people who pay state and city taxes who are footing the bill. In this case, if these fucking cities and states insist on not cleaning up their own mess, it should not be the responsibility of taxpayers elsewhere in the country to clean that mess up. No, fuck you. Trump needs to do like what he did with Minnesota. Remember when the governor of Minnesota tried to get Trump to foot the $500 million worth of damage that the peaceful rioters caused? Yeah, protests so peaceful, they declared a major disaster area, right? Yeah, and Trump that just shot them down. That's what you should do. I propose cutting off aid to all cities that told their cops to stand down and didn't let them do their damn job. I don't feel obligated to pay for these idiots. Let the morons that live in these cities and vote for their worthless government pay the price for it. It's not the rest of us that should foot that bill. If they actually do this, we will challenge it legally and they will lose once again, he added. Oh, okay. So it's kind of that's a very interesting case. It's like that whole Dreamer Act thing. So Obama put out an executive order to like not deport, illegal college students and the like. And Trump just decided to rescind that order and said, nah, you guys can resume this. And the Supreme Court actually said, oh, yeah, you're not allowed to do that. And Trump just flipped him off. It's like, fuck you. This is checks and balances at this point. The court has no jurisdiction over executive orders. And the court was like, yes, sir. Just shut up and sat down. Now, that is, by the way, one of the biggest flaws in our country is there's a lot of checks and balances on the executive and legislative branches, but not nearly enough on the judicial branch. And in this case, yeah, Trump actually, he pretty much showed them maybe the ultimate checks and balances on the judicial branches that they have no actual power. Yeah, that could be it, honestly. Now, Trump's September 2nd order gives the director of the Office of Management and Budget 30 days to issue guidance to federal agencies on restricting eligibility for federal grants to the cities on the Department of Justice list. Such grants make up a huge portion of New York City's already strapped annual budget, more than $7 billion in current year plus one alone, fiscal year, or 7.5% of the city's projected total revenue. Damn, you could like buy Bethesda for that kind of money. Holy shit. Fucking A, the federal government gives enough money to buy Bethesda to New York City every year. In justifying its decision, the Department of Justice cited New York City's rising gun violence, cuts to the police department's budget, and moves by various district attorneys to not prosecute charges related to riots earlier in the summer. Portland, Oregon, and Seattle, Washington were also hit with the same designation. And it's only fair. I, as someone who doesn't live in these shitholes, would rather not foot the bill for an incompetent government that refused to actually solve the problem. It's the people living in these cities who keep voting for these worthless governments. They're the ones who should foot the bill. And they should also be prevented from running away, too, in my opinion. Until we start forcing these people to stay and clean up their own messes, these problems are never going to change. We cannot allow federal tax dollars to be wasted when the safety of the citizenry hangs in the balance. I agree. It is my hope that these cities identified by the Department of Justice today will reverse course and become serious about performing the basic function of government and start protecting their own citizens, Attorney General William Barr said in a statement. Or at the very least, we need to make sure that they can't prosecute people who do defend themselves when the government's standing down. Both the city and the state have previously threatened to sue the federal government over the possible Department of Justice classification, which Mayor Bill de Blasio reiterated Monday. De Blasio, Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler, and Seattle Mayor Jenny Durkin issued a joint statement Monday afternoon blasting Trump.
This is thoroughly political and unconstitutional.
Nope, he has every right to withhold federal funding from cities that refuse to do what he says, really.
The president is playing cheap political games with congressionally directed funds.
They said in a House statement blasting what they called recklessness and partisanship from the White House. Well, why don't you start cleaning up the terrorists in your streets and maybe we can talk? DC got on the mayor of DC got on board. Shit, these people are just nuts. Yeah, again, I do not feel comfortable footing the bill for these incompetent losers. So let them deal with their own fucking problems. They let their own cities get burned down. They get to pay to rebuild them. They let the violent rioters run free. They get to pay for all the damages they cause. It's that simple. Oh man, I am so excited to tell you guys right now that finally, after about a year of buildup and shilling, we have launched Blade Devil on Indiegogo, and so far it is doing so well thanks to awesome people like you. If you haven't backed it yet, then please check the links in the description and check out Blade Devil on Indiegogo. You will not be disappointed. Looking forward to seeing you there.